As Resident Evil Requiem launches this week, we're talking about a very different kind of resident, a resident hero. Stephen Mair from Glasgow Children's Hospital Charity joins us for an incredible chat, plus we're digging into the future of Xbox after Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond. And in this week's Pixel Picks Showdown, we're naming the best game of the Spencer era. All this and more on this week's Pixel Parents Podcast. Hello and welcome to the next episode of the Pixel Parents Podcast, the show that discusses all things gaming from the perspective of parents. I am your host, Liam Kirk-Kelvin, and today I'm of course joined by the bearded one, Scott, the tastemaker Curry. How are we, Scott?
I want to start a new trend here, Liam. The vindicated one.
Okay.
The prophecy. The oracle, Scott, the oracle Curry. What was it? Last week,
chickens one.
The day before, I said Xbox are going to be in for a tough 2026, Liam, in our prediction show, and the day the episode released, look at what fucking happened. Come on now.
Indeed. At first glance, not good. But we're going to get into that, Scott. But I don't care about Xbox. I care about you. How's your week been?
It's been all right. To be honest with you, it's been pretty uneventful. It's been very much
good.
The weekend was a fucking nightmare. We cleared out our loft and I'm still tired. But, you know, Arsenal aren't playing tonight, so I'll get through an episode without fucking jinxing that shite. And,
man. The Arsenal fans are back, and I am I'm enjoying it. I'm not going to lie.
It's good.
Fan TV is back.
Quite right, as they should be.
It's okay.
But no, I'm good. I'm actually all right. How are you?
I'm good, man. Yeah, it's pretty much been a pretty straightforward week. I've been getting into a much better routine now that the lighter night's in here. I feel like I've got a little bit more energy. I've got a wedding to go to in a couple of weeks, so I've got to fit into my outfit, Scott. So I've got to make sure that I can get these big old buns and that suit again. So yeah, that's the aim of the game here. Just making sure that I don't have one kick too many and lead up to that. But bar that, man, yeah, all good. I have to say, before we get into stuff, right, and we've got a very good main topic this week for everybody, right? Looking forward to kind of getting in, splicing that in with the magic of technology. But I just want to extend my thanks to everybody that joined us for a big 100th episode party last week. The reaction to that has been very, very heartwarming, and just, yeah, it's been lovely. And I'm so glad that lots of people were there just to kind of send us a thanks and just, you know, come check us out. We couldn't do it without you. So yeah, thank you very much for that, guys and gals. We really appreciate it. Appreciate it. What's this about with me in the chiz?
Really appreciate it.
Can't fucking talk tonight, man, honestly. We've had a couple of runs before we pressed the record button tonight, and there has been gremlins aplenty, so Christ knows what we're in for. But yeah, it's going to be a doozy, Scott. But for those unfamiliar, this is the Pixel Parents Podcast, which is a weekly gaming show by parents discussing all things gaming whilst raising little ones. And you can get new episodes every Friday on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So subscribe on YouTube so you don't miss our tired faces there every week. You can find us on Blue Sky at pixelparents.bsky.social or email us at pixelparentspodcast@gmail.com. Of course, you can support the show for free at patreon.com/pixelparents. There'll be bonus shows, community chat, cost you £0. And finally, drop a wee 5-star review. Share this podcast online with your friends, whatever you choose to do. It really does help us out. So, of course, thank you to everybody that joins us each and every week. So, with all of that out of the way, Scott, before we get into the big interview today, we need to talk about the absolute bombshell you mentioned that happened over the weekend at Xbox, which is, of course, Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond are stepping away, and Asha Sharma is in as the new Vice President, or Executive Vice President and CEO of Microsoft Gaming. It kind of feels like the whole future of the brand is suddenly in question, Scott. What a difference a week makes. How are you feeling about it?
I have no sympathy for Xbox and the Xbox fan base.
Jesus, he's coming for them all.
Because Liam, they came for me in the comments after I made a comment a few weeks ago about it. So do you know what? They can fucking spin on it, but it's I'm still fucking raging about it. Stupid assholes. But do you know what? It's the news came out, and I'm not going to be like, oh no, Phil Spencer's leaving. Oh, big Phil. Oh no, let's all be sad for Phil leaving. Oh, he's been there since 2014, right? 12 years at Xbox, and his greatest legacy for me, Liam, his greatest legacy is that he cancelled Scalebound. That's the only thing I care about. Do you know what I mean? Like, that man was there at the lowest points I can remember. You know what I mean? I know that he obviously took over that Don Matrick and the Xbox One launch and how fucking horrendous that was, but he's not fucking covered himself in glory in the last 12 years. Do you know what I mean? Well, we're all happy now because, you know, they released some games last year, but see if he left last year, we'd be having a very, very, very different conversation. Profits are up because now they've bought fucking Activision. Of course profits are going to be up because you've got the biggest fucking game on earth in your hands. So no, I'm not going to be that sad about, you know, him leaving. My thoughts on the whole thing, William.
Big picture. Give me the broad stroke.
I'm sure we'll get into it as that.
Yeah.
Phil was going to leave anyway, right? He said this in his leaving post, his email, saying that he'd spoken to fucking AI Charlie over there and
Satya Nadella.
Satya Nadella, and you know, AI's biggest fan, and told him that he was going to leave in the next year or so, and he's fucking stuck to his word, right? Which is fair dues. I think the nature of him leaving and the way that it's all worked out does leave a little bit of a bad taste in the mouth, because it does feel like very much like, you know, let's fucking leave now. Do you know what I mean? It's that guy you work with that, you know, isn't he pulling his weight? You just want to be like, just go, man, like, just fucking leave us alone.
On your pot.
On your pot. But there's obviously something else at play. The Phil Spencer stuff though aside, you mean, he's leaving. He was always going to leave, and that's cool. He's had his time, done his bit, and that's fine. He'll now go and play Starfield for the next fucking 40 years.
Living the dream.
Living the dream, aye. Him and fucking Greg Miller playing that together, but the only two people in the world. But it was the Sarah Bond stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was the nature of her leaving and her whole process and how that's all gone down. That was very much the whole what? Like, it was always we always thought that it was going to be Sarah Bond stepping up after Phil goes. That was going to be the logical next step. And even now, knowing what we know, it's still the logical next step in terms of, you know, the current framework of what Xbox are trying to push. If that continues to be what they want to go ahead with, then Sarah Bond would be the logical person there. But it's not going to be that way. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be this all singing, all dancing, play anywhere nonsense. It's going to be whatever this fucking AI lover number 2 wants. Do you know what I mean? So
now, Scott, I'm conscious that we might have people listening to the show, though I would be surprised. But in fact, I'm not surprised. We will have people listening to the show that aren't as sad as you and me, who might not have a fucking clue what we're talking about here. Allow me just to give a little
please. I thought you were going to ask me to do it later, but I was like, please don't do this to me.
You know, last week, I believe it was on Friday, the story had originally leaked of something that was supposed to happen this past Monday. As we mentioned, Phil Spencer, CEO, of Xbox. He had basically retired. It was announced that he was going, and it was effective immediately, which is quite surprising in the corporate game. But alongside him would also be Sarah Bond, the Xbox president, also stepping aside. So after about 40 years of Microsoft, Big Daddy Phil's away. Apparently he's decided last fall to retire, and this is something that's just happening now. He left a little memo just thanking Sarah Bond for expanding Game Pass, cloud gaming, launching new hardware. He did say that he's going to stay on as an advisor through the summer. Sarah Bond, she's away as well. She took a little bit longer, and she wasn't really mentioned in a lot of all the exiting memos, but she did say in her own departing message it was the right time for it to take the next step, and she's wished her successor, Asha Sharma, all the success. Now, this is the person that we're going to come to in a second here, the new royalty. But anyway, any internal memos it was about, they've hardly mentioned Sarah Bond. We'll come back to that, and it's reflecting a little bit of tension there. It's hinting that there has been tensions about this cloud-heavy Xbox everywhere strategy, right? Again, we'll come back to it. But Asha Sharma has been crowned, right? Kinged, queened, however you put it. Satya Nadella has promoted her former head of Microsoft's Core AI and ex-Instacart and Meta executive. So she's now the executive vice president and CEO of Microsoft Gaming. And Matt Booty, who should also be familiar with fellow Saddles like ourselves, has been elevated to chief content officer. Now, there's been some reports out there that's saying that Sarah Bond, her push to make Xbox everywhere, basically including non-rival consoles such as PlayStation, as we know, and even like things like this planned mobile store that never really came to fruition. It's kind of, there's reports out there saying that some employees at Xbox have been alienated by it. They've not really bought into it. There've also been a few digs at her management style, been very autocratic, not been very friendly, shall we say. And this mobile game store as well, just kind of with that being shelved. Just, it's felt like Phil is like tatty by, and Sarah Bond is the one that's to fall on the sword here. And I'm going to get to Asha Sharma soon, but I'm with you. Like, I'm quite surprised is that the polar differences in the goodbye messages. Now, Phil Spencer, like him or loathe him, he does have a legacy there, but I do wonder if it's ultimately a legacy of failure, because the pros, he introduced like the Game Pass, he's been there for the Xbox being more open platform because they had to, because they were behind. Ultimately, he couldn't take Xbox up a gear. And Sarah Bond, she's part of that, but Phil was the figurehead. After the Don Matrick era, it was him that was coming out. Well, he's wearing that t-shirt they're going to be announcing Battletoads or something like that. All those years. And Sarah Bond...
What's behind him on his shelf?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And, he was very much seen as one of us, wasn't he? And that's the thing. And you're looking at the other people like that, these are more suits, the corporate style. And that's where a lot of the anxiety is coming in. I know like The Verge had reported a lot about Sarah Bond's exit and kind of what's happening behind the scenes. And there's been lots of reports and lots of things out there. We're not going to get into it because we don't have a bloody day. But it has been interesting to see the difference in there, the fact that she's taking the fall. What do you think's going on with Sarah Bond specifically? If we come on to the new CEO, what do you think's going on there?
Liam, I don't know. To be truthful,
Weird.
No one's going to know. We're never going to know what happened there. I think the word that you've said that fits it is convenient. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's convenient to have someone like that take the fall. Phil was the main man for so long, and Sarah Bond always felt like second fiddle to that. So why not just let her take the fall and bring this other person in? Yeah. With that piece on The Verge, I was reading it, I was like, this is outrageous. The fact that this has been if it's true, it's outrageous in itself, but B, that you can release that days within this woman fucking being shafted at her job. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's even in the last few days, there's been a lot of kind of talk about it, and it's very much, I think it was Alex Donaldson and a couple of other people on Blue Sky were talking about it. It's like it's reminiscent to how a football manager gets punted. So it's like when Ange get booted out of Spurs, everyone's talking about, his management style, how people didn't like him behind the scenes and all that. And
Aye.
it's like, it's very much like that. It's just like,
Yeah, yeah, good point.
let's just fucking slander them. So when we bring someone else new in, it's almost like fucking, whoa, look how good this is.
Yeah.
And, for Xbox sake, they have to hope that this isn't going to be another Thomas Frank. Do you know what I mean? Like, because they're going to be in a worse state for it. But it's,
Well, that's
it's fucking Tottenham are so shit. But it's just, with the Sarah Bond stuff, as I say, I don't think we'll ever find out what happened there.
you're right. You're right.
And I think that you're talking about, this legacy of failure that Phil has brought in. See if we're talking about Sarah Bond's legacy, multi-platform stuff, cloud-based gaming and stuff like that, play anywhere. I don't think that's a failure. I think that's a really, like, that's a feather in the cap of what she was like. It's interesting, do you know what I mean? But
But
you're looking at it from the multi-platform stuff as well, Liam. Like, it's, you look at the success that they're having on PlayStation already. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, it's just, I don't think you can look at that as an abject failure. Xbox fans will, because they want to hoard all the games to themselves and be like, oh, we want to keep all these to ourselves. Oh, but like, the consoles have been fucking dying on their ass since the Xbox One. Like, it's, and we've spoken about it on this show. I think I played the Xbox One once. The Xbox Series X sits up there gathering dust at the moment because I cancelled my Game Pass subscription a few months back because I'm not paying that for it. It's fucking ridiculous. So it's just like, sack that.
I mean,
I don't think you can look at Sarah Bond's legacy as a failure. I think it's just, the way that they're framing it feels like that. I don't know.
I mean, like, the thing is, though, like, despite the, they're clearly behind in terms of the console war and all that, which is it's not even a war anymore, right? It's done. That year is away. Xbox are still, I think they had one of the most successful years ever in terms of actual gaming revenue, which is incredible. When you're talking about billions, I think it was over like 20 billion
or something like that. Aye.
Hardly a small chunk of change. And the way we talk about Xbox is as if there's some, fledgling arm of a business. We've got this. This brings me on to the new CEO, right? Now, Asha Sharma, she's basically come in and she's basically said there's 3 pillars. I made my wee notes here. That she's committed herself to invest in great games, ensuring that they've got deep emotional resonance. She wants to return of Xbox, so it could mean like maybe hint towards a renewed focus on console hardware, but still reaching those players on PC, mobile, and cloud that you mentioned, Scott. And she's also kind of looking at the future. And she's said that she's wanting a responsible use of AI without flooding the ecosystem on Xbox with this, her words here, soulless AI slop. She's also been putting a lot of work in on Twitter and stuff like that, trying to at least appear that she's listening to fans, that she's, what she said the plan's the plan until it's not the plan. So she's kind of, it's sending all these messages that actually we're going to be doing something a bit radical, maybe changing up the overall strategy. And yeah, she's very much kind of wanting to put in the work here. They're just trying to appear as more of a gamer, but she's also quite young. I don't actually think she's that much older than myself. I may be about a year or 2 older than me. Hold the joke, right? But she's quite young. But it's like, it's quite interesting, but I digress. The big overwhelming feeling, myself included, was that, oh shit, you hear that this is someone coming from the AI arm of Microsoft, and you're thinking, this might be just another depressing AI jockey. And I have a theory of what might happen here. Now, this is me getting, and I'm trying to really wrap this up because I'm sure our listeners have heard a lot about this stuff for the past week, but we've got our 2 cents. But my depressing theory and my optimistic theory, Scott, what one do you want first of what is actually happening here?
Give me the bad news first. Always the bad.
First, right? So my depressing theory here, and what I think is going to be happening in the future of Xbox, is that they're moving the pieces on the chessboard to set up Xbox to take the fall for what is going to be a massive AI investment fail. And I think that that's what they're probably going to maybe position things for. They're going to be doing saying a lot of the right things, maybe even doing a couple of right things as well. But ultimately, their greed will be something that you'll start to see studios cut, teams cut, Double Fine, all that cut. They're away. That's it. They start to then maybe dial back on some of the big, massive, new titles. Maybe they don't want to release another Gears trilogy. Maybe they want to invest more in this new Halo studio. All these things, maybe they just double down and go down the Sega path eventually, because they'll still make money, but I can see the shrinking of it. And then there's a couple of big fails coming there, like with this new Xbox console. Sarah Bond, before she departed, said it's going to be more like a premium high-end type, almost PC-like architecture on that thing. That ain't going to fly. The cost of things are all going up, and that's it. But there's the optimistic side of it, which is Xbox, and I still stand by this from last week. They do have other parts on that chessboard which might lean into where the overall future of gaming is going, in the sense that she might actually be legit. There's every chance it could be, but that cloud gaming piece is where everything, I think, is going. I think that we are rapidly hurtling towards this future of not buying the hardware to play the games. It's all about just getting us on subscription services like Xbox Cloud Gaming, PlayStation Plus Cloud Gaming, or even on PC, GeForce Now, for example, just getting us all there, because there is a depressing reality here, Scott, and this is the funnily enough, this is my optimistic one, but the depressing reality is that there may be no consoles. You look at things like the RAM shortages that's happening, and things are just going to get more expensive. And I view the canary in the coal mine as actually sitting with Nintendo. Forget Xbox and all the rest of it just now, right? But once the family console that they're targeting for families to buy at Christmas and all that stuff starts to increase in price, the rest of it, the new Xboxes, the PlayStations, all the rest of that, skyrocket along with it. And I think they might be thinking, right, we want someone that's got an experience of getting a software platform that's all online in the hands of consumers, something like an AI platform, something like Meta, etc. And that's where it comes back to her. And that might be probably the best case scenario. Do I see a future where we go back to the Xbox 5 or whatever it is, and we're all queuing up to buy them and it's just like the good old days? Nah, because AI is just ruining everything, to be quite frank. And that's why, even though I'm most optimistic, still a wee bit depressed, Scott. So that's kind of where I'm at.
I mean, yeah, it could be like that. It could all just fucking all flush down the toilet, and nothing changes. It just all fucking dies. It's every single time you listen to a different podcast, it's all different conversations people are having. She's come in to see the slow death of Xbox through, Grim Reaper. She's just going to scythe different studios off and, trim the fat, so to speak. I don't see the positives in it. You know what I mean? If we're talking about a cloud-based future, Sarah Bond was there doing that already. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
Asha's coming in and she's taking over a company where, the fan base is crying out for success and has been crying out for success for, a decade at least now, almost decades. So it's craving success. And she's coming into a role here where she's going to have more scrutiny than she probably ever has in her life. Gamers aren't forgiving. She has to say the right things at every single opportunity. If you're Jeff Keighley, you have to wear the right shoes on stage so you don't look like a fanny all the time. But it's with this, it's just she's going to be under constant pressure, replying to people on X right now because people are excited or want to get to know you a bit better, or want to understand what you want. Great, and I don't think X is the platform for that. And I think that there's a lot being said about who she follows and the company she keeps, and a lot of her own internal beliefs. But I don't have the energy to even begin that conversation. If you want to go and find out, go and look it up. But she's a bit of a strange lady in that respect. But it's just I honestly don't see a positive future for Xbox at this moment in time. I didn't see it last week either. Like, I still think that you get this year out the road and it's just like, where are we now? We're talking about a PC future. You know, is this not an Xbox future? Then you're looking at a totally different landscape in terms of what we know and what we come to expect from that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
it's ultimately going to come down to, the Xbox has been failing in the console market since the Xbox 360. I don't think you can make any arguments against that, but
No.
where it really needed to step forward is with the software and with the games that it's bringing out. And you started to see the fruits of the labour coming out last year. Maybe they made a little bit of an arse of it releasing all the games at once. Someone might have said that, but I think that you'll see these games come out this year. Forza, Fable, Beast of Reincarnation. There's probably going to be a few more in there as well that I've not mentioned. Halo, Gears coming out. They're going to jump onto the consoles and hopefully make a big dent. But what next? What's next? What's next up? We don't have a Perfect Dark remake anymore. We don't have, all this other shite Everwild from Rare. What are they doing now? Back to the drawing board for Rare. How long is it going to take to fart out a Banjo-Kazooie remake? And it's just the future doesn't look bright for Xbox at the moment. And this was the same conversation that we were having about PlayStation last year.
Yeah,
like we were saying, where are the games? And they came out with that state of play 2 weeks ago, and they've shown everything that's coming up, and we're all excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Wolverine now releasing in September, and it's like you've got things to look forward to. And even with that comes out the following year. You've got 2027 Interstellar potentially. You can look at the future of it. You can look at the future of these consoles. There's inevitably going to be like a wee partnership between PlayStation and Grand Theft Auto, because there usually is. Most of the console base is on PlayStation, so you don't even see people going, "Oh yeah, I'll get Grand Theft Auto 5 on my Xbox," because why the fuck would you? It's just
no, you wouldn't.
It's not the place that we would buy it. You wouldn't do it. You might do it now because you've got the ROG, so you want to play it handheld. But would you? Like, if you've got the PS5 Pro there, it doesn't make sense. It's just I don't want to be the doom mongerer again, Liam, but it's just I don't see it. And I don't think the way I'll finish with this, right? Give me 1 minute and I'll finish off with this. Is that
Sure.
I think that in the perfect world, we would have had the winding down of the Phil Spencer era. We would have had a few months of him just saying goodbye, maybe saying, look, these are the upcoming games that you'd come to expect for this year. And Asha comes in and says, introduce you to her. They all sit down together and talk about the future of the Xbox. Sarah Bond says, like, I've taken cloud gaming as far as I want to. I'm going to step away and do something else within the Xbox brand, the Xbox family, and continue to support Asha Sharma until she, makes her way up. But I think what they do need to do straight away, more than anything else, is get her in front of people and just talk. We're seeing all this stuff online, but she needs to come out, not in a fucking hit piece or in a fucking fluff piece with Jez Corden. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's ridiculous at that point in time. You just have to get her in front of a camera and just talk to people. You know, like, and because all the clips you're seeing of her talking about AI, how that's going to be the greatest thing on earth and every single application should have AI involvement. Nobody wants to hear that now. Like, people are so vehemently against all that. Just get her in front of people talking about Xbox and the future of Xbox. Even announce the next console. Do you know what I mean? Just say, like, we're very early on, but this is the future of Xbox as we see it, and talk about her future and what Xbox is going to do. They have to do that sooner rather than later before people decide to vote with their wallet, because it's a very fucking turbulent time at the moment, and they need stability with that.
That's true. That's so true, man. Like, it's I think we said all we can. I mean, I love coming here. It's a real laugh. It's just,
it is. I mean, that's just the nature of the games industry at the moment. No, it's just every single day there's other fucking shit, like Blue Point getting shut down as well.
Yeah.
We haven't even spoken about that.
A terrible shite decision. That's all I'm going to say in it, because I think I've spoken enough about the negative. You're right. You're right.
I'll give you my opinion of it then, in that people want remakes until they don't want remakes anymore.
True.
There you go.
True.
People moan about remakes all the time, too many remakes, and now they've shot the studio that makes all the remakes. And oh my god, they could have remade everything. It's like, oh, you can't decide what's fucking happening now.
We're never happy, Scott. We're never happy, but alas,
we're never happy.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to move us into more cheerier waters, because I want to know, this is obviously this time of year's shite for the games industry. It's always the same in Q4. There's always all the layoffs and all the bad news because they're trying to get things all sorted for the new financial year. Not that bollocks, but ultimately, it's about the games, right? It's about the damn games, as we say, play the damn things, and we've got probably more of a quick-fire section here, I suppose, because we've had a lot of games that we have been playing. Last week spoke about God of War, Sons of Sparta. I'm going to kick things off here, Scott, right? Because I've had a demo to play through. I know you've been sitting on something else. Should also add, it's the start of Steam Next Fest as well, so there's demos galore out there for lots of cool indie developers. I've got a handful that I've managed to squeeze in, but there's one that I've had for a few weeks now. I'm allowed to talk about it. And it is available, I believe, as part of the Steam Next Fest as well now, but it was Akatori, which is a lovely little kind of epic 2D Metroidvania. If you're a fan of more, I would say, pixel arty sprite, it's a kind of I don't even call it pixel arty, to be fair. It's just very, very gorgeous in that sense, Side scrolling, you've got nothing but your staff there to fight. Very vertical game. And at first I was thinking something, I read the words Metroidvania, side scroll, I'm thinking something more akin to a Hollow Knight or something. And it's not really, it's very much more akin to just a straight up action platformer. You're doing a lot of aerial combat, I felt in my time, and it's almost got that little touch of at first I was thinking just going to be quite almost Souls-like, the difficulty. That's probably just because I'm crap at it, to be fair, Scott, but there's a little bit of challenge. There's a wee bit of needle in there. Enemies were great. The environments were very, very cool. As mentioned, very, very vertical, the game, in terms of a platform and challenge. But I think this is something, as I was playing it, this is something I think should be on your radar, Scott. I think it's worth picking up the demo, and we can kind of hear what you think about it in private. But if it's something if you like something with a bit of a martial arts tinge, if you like something that's, again, in that more Metroidvania vein, this is something that's worth picking up. Like I said, the demo's available now, worth checking out. But Scott, I know you've been playing something else yourself that you wish to talk about. You ready to talk about it this week? That's the question. Is that something for next week?
I'll talk about it for a wee bit with you. Not.
Go on.
So I've been playing a game on my Steam Deck, which is I can now say that. So this dropped in the inbox, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to have a wee bit of that. So I'm currently playing a 3D platformer sequel to a game called Demon Turf. I'm playing Demon Tides at the moment, which is a 3D platformer that, rivals anything that the Italian plumber's doing at the moment.
Yeah.
It's cell shaded, so it's just cartoon fucking out its tits. It's phenomenal. But you play as Beebs, and you have a wee band of groupies beside you, and it's just, I've played it for a few hours, and it's very, it drops shit. It's quite a difficult game to start, because it's very much, exposition, and you're waiting for things to get going, and it's very slow in terms of the way it onboards you, but it's to teach you a lot about what you're doing. Effectively, it's just like this open world area where you can platform to your heart's content. You've got double jumps, you've got transform abilities where if you jump in the air, you can transform into like a wee bat and you can float. You've got a snake thing where it kind of does the thing like Sonic, so you can constantly roll, and you can roll faster on ground, but you can also, speed through the water as a snake as well. There's loads of different abilities as you go along. You've got grind abilities and stuff like that as well. So it's like you're literally not stopping. Do you know what I mean? It's just so fast paced, and it's very much a game that if you say Akatori is a game that I would enjoy, this is the game that you would enjoy, which is so strange. Like we've sort of flipped, but it's it's gorgeous and it's so funny. Like all the characters have this quirky personality. There's like a 90s based character that kind of comes out with all those kind of 90s based lingo, and it's like every single time they speak, it's just like, what are you talking about, mate? It's so daft. But no, it's one that very early on, but one that I do find myself that every single time I turn that Steam Deck on, I'm like, I'll play it for a wee bit. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'll jump into it. And one of the positives in it is that when you do make a bit of progress, so if you are, if you do find yourself at the top of this thing, you can drop the checkpoint flag wherever you want. So it's not checkpoints everywhere in the map. It's that you can drop a flag wherever you want to respawn, basically. So if you fall down, you can go back to that checkpoint and it just takes you back to that point, which is brilliant. There's leaderboards for part of it as well, so it's got that element to it too. So it's people who like that competitive aspect of it in terms of point scoring and stuff like that as well will have something there. But it's on Steam at the moment. As I say, I'm playing it on Steam Deck and it runs great. And I'm pretty sure they have also announced that it is coming to the Switch as well.
Ooh, that's a good shout.
I may have just said that, and I'm not 100% sure of it, but I'm fairly certain that it is.
Get a wee check.
Yeah, it's coming to Switch.
That's cool. That's cool.
This year, so it's worth having a look.
Excellent. Well, I don't want to linger too much on that because we had, it's like every now and then we get like a big news story, so we have to dedicate a bulk of time to that, Scott. But there is some other wee demos I've checked out this week as part of Steam Next Fest because I've been terrible. Right, outside of the show, we had a night where we got to play Neo 3. I also had to confess my sins that I have been in buffet mode this week. I've started a new build on Dark Souls 2, maybe Dark Souls 1 as well, Scott. And also I re-downloaded Bloodborne. I'm just in that mood, right? I'm in the Goldilocks mood, but I know I'm dreadful, but I've just been kind of having a whistle-stop tour of all the Souls games again. It must just be something in the air, alas. It was good fun going through Neo 3. But I would say I've been on the Steam Next Fest demos, just kind of starting to check them out, and it's going on, I believe, for another week, I think. It might be longer. I need to check that. I don't know if you can be so kind, Scott, to have a wee look to tell us when the dates are, or as I go through. I've got 3 games here that I had a wee go at just to put on people's radar, see what they think of it. There's one that you'll probably see when you go into Steam, and it's Gwynblade Witcher-esque, and it's a Souls-esque hack and slash game. In fact, it's a really cool comic book art style. Think big, campy Batman with lots of slams and parries, like words coming at you when you're kind of taking action. Very, very fast paced. I've found it, I can't judge it on its current build state completely because it is a demo, it's a work in progress. It was a bit rough, but I think from that demo perspective, I was really into the concept here. I think with just a wee bit more polish and work, I can see this being a wee indie darling. So it's definitely worth going to check out and see what you make of it yourself. There has something about it, probably just the style and the gameplay concept itself. I also checked out Genome Guardian 2, which is a bit of a twin stick shooter vibe. It was it got a bit heated at first, or should I say, I probably hated it at first, if I'm honest, but it oddly grew on me. And it was a very strange moment because at first I thought, oh man, I'm not playing this. Things were just getting really, really hot fast. I'm like, nah. And then all of a sudden it starts to build the layers. It's got like a fine onion. And it started to have that very oddly addictive quality to it. So something I think that's probably worth checking out as well if you're into those twin stick shooter experiences. The final one, probably the most polished one, is The Eternal Life of Goldman from Weepy Studio. Absolutely gorgeous, Scott. Absolutely gorgeous. Has this kind of hand-drawn old school animation style on there. Probably one of the most gorgeous game models I've seen in some time. Hints at a wider story as well. It might tug in the old heartstrings, but really cool platforming action from this one. You can go in, you play as this old dude, you can customize your wee cane. It's got lots of cool unlock abilities that you can get in that Metroidvania style that you'd expect, and it is very much a 2D side-scrolling. Want to say Metroidvania, but it has that Metroidvania flavour to it. Definitely one to watch, but it's been published by THQ Nordic. You can tell that, put it this way, I think the demo was like 8 gigabyte or something, and it showed. So it's one of the more meaty demos out there. Ran fantastically well on the ROG, so I'd imagine it would run particularly well on most handhelds out there as well. that's definitely top of the list to go check out. And I can see a lot of people probably talking about that, but that's probably got a wee bit of budget behind it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to checking out some other stuff on there. I've been seeing lots of chatter on Blue Sky. I'm really it's the first Steam Next Fest for me, so I'm just dipping a toe, but we'll get another week. Did you see how long it's on for, Scott?
It is a week. A week long festival of video game goodness.
So we shall report back, because it's still very early on in said week for us when we're recording this. So give us a week and we'll come back next week and we'll see if there's any other wee gems that we managed to spot. But Scott, I'm going to move things on. And before we do move on to the main topic, if you enjoyed the show, you want to support us, you can, and it won't cost you a penny. So join our free Patreon community. Just visit patreon.com/Pixel Parents for every show, chats and bonus shows, including side quests with Scott, patch notes, and Pixel Presents Pixel Pinfalls, all free all the time. And please don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube. Just visit youtube.com/@Pixel Parents Podcast. Now, we've got something really special to share now. We've had the chance to sit down with Stephen Mair, the resident gamer at Glasgow Children's Hospital charity, and it's an incredible chat about the power of play. Now, watch us change our attire and hand ourselves over to ourselves. Let's jump into that now. Over to us. And we are back. So yeah, I'm delighted to introduce Stephen here, who's now joining both Scott and I, as promised, between the episodes here. Stephen, how you doing?
I'm not too bad. Liam, Scott, thank you very much for having me today.
Anytime,
You're
man.
very welcome, yeah.
Anytime.
Happy to have you on.
Yeah, and for anybody who's just hearing your name for the first time, could you tell us what you actually do and where you actually do all your good work as resident gamer?
Yeah, so I'm the gamer in residence of Glasgow Children's Hospital charity. This is a position that we've had at the Children's Hospital since the summer of 2024, and it followed an entire year of gaming fundraising by the charity, which is still ongoing with the Games for the Weans fundraising brand. We essentially wanted to do some fundraising with the gaming community, with streamers, with games companies here in Scotland, and essentially use that money to then upgrade the experience for children in hostel who get a lot of their a lot of their passions, a lot of the things they enjoy, hanging out with friends, school. A lot of that is taken away when they go to hostel, but one thing they can still do is play video games, which is obviously, as we know, a huge something that a lot of children are really interested in and really enjoy, and that was myself about 20 years ago. My job is basically to make sure now in the children's hostel that all of that fundraising is spent to kind of make that experience better for those children, to make sure that they are occupied and kept busy and kept entertained, because it's far better for children to be entertained and to learn things through play and to stay occupied rather than be bored or anxious or lonely when they're in hospital. So I make sure that the equipment is up to standard. I try and fix things as and when technical glitches come up to the best of my ability. I do one-to-one gaming with our young patients as well. So if they would like a play or two for their gaming, I can go to their bedside or go to a playroom or a common area and play video games with those children as well. And we also have 5 gaming volunteers now, and they go around and kind of do the same, but just for a couple hours out of their week, which they give up for free. So yeah, this service has now been in place for a year and a half, more than that really now. And the reaction that we get from families has been really, really special. And it's something that I think we're going to continue for a long time to come, and something I hope other children's hostels would adopt as well, or consider adopting.
I was going to actually ask that. Is it something that's only within, Glasgow Children's Hospital, or is it, wider at all?
So it's globally, it's massive. In the US, they call this job a game tech. Mm-hmm. And the first one started around about 2016, 2017. funded largely by an organisation called Child's Play, which actually also fund me just now as well. So a huge shout out to them for their amazing support. And yeah, so it's very established over in the US. I think there are others in Germany and Australia and maybe Canada. I know there's one in Kenya actually as well. There is one other in the UK who has just started. I've actually yet to meet them at London Great Ormond Street Hospital. I assume they've started because they were advertising it at the tail end of last year, but I've yet to meet them. So it's something that is growing, I think, as more people realize that children, they love gaming, and that shouldn't have to stop or shouldn't have to pause while they're in hospital already going through so much. One of the kind of core principles of more traditional play in the hospital or healthcare setting is that in a situation where children cannot control how long they're in hospital, what medicines they take, what operations or procedures they have that can be quite scary, even to adults, is that they can control how they play and how they, what they use to entertain themselves with. And this is just kind of an extension of those key principles that have been in place for 50 or more years, with the existing profession of play specialists and play therapists, and obviously that's now since been added to with music therapy and art therapy and all that kind of thing. And I think gaming globally is starting to be used in a similar way now as well.
That's amazing. It's so cool. Yeah. It's really cool. Eh?
Well, it's like so insightful already, man. I'm just sitting here listening. I'm like, oh wait, I need to start asking questions again.
I actually went over to the United States last year in May. I went over to Boston Children's Hospital, and Child's Play were actually able to train me up in a whole different range of things, from gaming for disabilities to a sort of very foundational child development section, to project management, to like all sorts of different aspects of this job, really, because you end up wearing so many hats, because you need to know, you don't have to know everything, but you need to know how a child develops at each kind of age. But then you also need to know how to fix the internet. So there's a lot of different things to this, and that's obviously I just play this tiny little part with our charity, Glasgow Children's Hospital charity. I work with a lot of different colleagues in the NHS that are of the more clinical side, and it's just one small part to helping these children have a positive hospital experience and play a small part in their road to recovery.
Man, that's amazing. Yeah, it's just like, it's so vital and important. I mean, you mentioned you beat the USA. I mean, for people, we might have listeners here that are outside of Scotland. Glasgow's Children's Hospital charity, in simple terms.
He disappears.
Sorry, he's sorry.
It happens all the time. I have to piece together. I will take over for a minute. So, what Liam was trying to say was, for people who might be outside of Scotland, what does the charity do, and where does gaming fit into the sort of the whole structure of it all?
Yeah, so Glasgow Children's Hospital charity, we started as the York Hill Children's Foundation about 25 years ago. And, in the beginning, our kind of core commitment is to play. I think it's about £500,000 every year that we put into the play, and that's ostensibly more traditional play, but gaming's becoming an increasing part of that, and that's obviously been benefited by the gaming fundraising that I help lead as well. But on the other hand, there's a lot of real cutting edge research and technology that's been funded by the charity. Just the other week, there's a portable ultrasound scanner that one of my marketing colleagues was going in to take some pictures of. There's spaces like sensory areas in the hospital that have been funded by the charity. And now, obviously, in the last couple of years, the house, the accommodation at the hospital, which is known as Crossbasket House, became part of our kind of charity family as well. So that's something that we try and integrate into our all the other stuff that we're doing for those patients is a space for families to stay when they can stay, and that benefits thousands of families every year as well. So we started from quite humble beginnings, and now there's like several different branches of the charity that are equally as important. And we also run a bereavement service for families out of the house as well, and that's obviously crucial in its own way for the parents and the families that need that. And yeah, it's really hard to sum up, and they'll probably forget about 5 or 6 different things, but
Yeah.
the amount that they do, and I've been with the charity for nearly 4 years now, and it has grown immensely in that time. We were kind of celebrating a delayed 20th anniversary because of the after effects of COVID when I first joined. Now it's the 25th, and we've got a whole house. We've got all these different services, from the fun of gaming to the real seriousness of bereavement support. And none of that was a thing 4 years ago when I first put on my first purple T-shirt, which I live in nowadays. So yeah, it's so vitally important, and I'm just really happy to play a small part in that.
That's amazing. It really is. I'm going to keep on saying that word amazing, because it really is incredible. I think I remember seeing something about in the news years ago, and it never clicking 100% until Liam had sent the email over earlier on this month. So it was like, I've heard of this before, but I've never actually heard more about it. So it's really interesting to see how it has grown, kind of arms and legs and things as well. You mentioned it earlier on, but can you tell people what Games for the Weans is in simple terms?
Yeah, for sure. So it's basically the Scottish gaming fundraiser for gamers who maybe they stream, maybe they work for a games company, maybe they have a club, maybe they're a dungeon master, maybe they're someone who's into esports and they host LAN tournaments or something like that. Anyone in the kind of gaming ecosystem or sphere can fundraise for this fundraiser that directly benefits gamers in Scotland's most busy children's hospital, and the original and the most longest how do I say this? The gaming service in a children's hospital that's been around for the longest, and we're kind of at the stage where we have gamers in every single day. And if you do a fundraiser for Games for the Weans, you can support us to support those young children. It's what's called a restricted fundraiser. So for those that don't work in the third sector, restricted means that we legally have to spend it on the cause that we say it's for. Mm-hmm. So it'll all 100% go to new consoles, to get to the gamers themselves, to help them come in and do their part, to new games, to other technologies such as 3D printing's becoming really prevalent in hospitals across in America, and that's something we're hopeful of adopting. And yeah, just all these little upgrades to the gaming and technology experience that our young patients have. Games for the Weans is the way that you can support all of that. And we have our fundraising team that can help you from every single step of the way, and including setting up your fundraising page, supporting you if you're doing a stream, popping in the chat and making sure you're supported by us in that way, that kind of thing. So yeah, we can help with all of that. And at the end, you get to do the big check presentation thing, the big novelty check. You don't get to go and try and take it into a bank or anything.
Oh, that's how you sell me on it more. Hand me a massive check.
It's good fun. It's all good fun, and we just want to try and make sure anyone that helps the patients at the hospital and has the best time doing it.
Yeah, quite right. It's always really rewarding. Me and Liam had done it a few years ago for. Was it Special Effect? I'm going to ask him, but he won't be able to answer. But I'm pretty sure it was Special Effect. We did a 24-hour stream, and I'm pretty sure that both of us hated each other by the end of it. So it was a tough one, that one. But I think that if you can get involved, you absolutely should, because these things are so rewarding. And as you say, with it being restricted and things, it is going towards what it's saying it's going towards, you know what I mean? Which is amazing. Obviously, I'm going to be really nosy, Stephen, but what kind of things do you have for the children to kind of play with and things like that as well, like console-wise, games-wise? What kind of things are you finding?
Yeah. So we, what's quite common in any hostel is you have what's called a gaming cart. And that's a system that you can wheel around, and it's height adjustable, and you can sort of change it up depending on whether you're in a patient's room or whether you're in a bed bay with other patients nearby, or whether you're in a kind of common play area. So these are provided by a UK charity, our friends at the Rock and R. They're actually coming again shortly for another delivery. And they have either an Xbox or a Nintendo Switch. The PlayStations are a wee bit too big to fit into these units. But they basically turn an Ergotron unit, which is the same company that make all the laptop stands for the consultants and things like that, and on the wards.
Right.
They keep the console inside with all the games downloaded, and a monitor up top. I'll send you a link to see what these look.
Yeah, I've been cool to see.
Want to play it out, but yeah, they're basically made by a family down in Wakefield that have their own very personal connection to hostels and to gaming. They are absolutely fantastic. Jess and Johnny from the Rock and R, they really understand the hostel experience, and they really go the extra mile for all the hostels. I think they're in well over 100 of them. They've got well over 600 of these carts out in circulation across the UK and Ireland. So we're really grateful to be one of those partners that they've been helping out. We've also got others from the US. Great Gamers Outreach is a charity based in Michigan, and they sent us a very similar type of cart called a Go cart. Go, GO, standard for Gamers Outreach. I do have to just say the Xbox when I offer it to a child, because if you say, do you want a shot of the Go kart, they entirely. But yeah, so it's kind of the same thing. They have either a Switch or an Xbox inside. One huge thing I noticed when I started this job is how bad discs are, because they go back and imagine the disc collection that you guys probably had in your own house, and disc end up in the wrong box, your kids put it back in the wrong place, or it was lying out, it gets scratched up, you need to take it to game and get that £7 disc fixer,
the gel that spins.
or do that thing, the toothbrush trick, or all that. So imagine that times the 500 odd patients in year, or times the 240 odd inpatient beds. It's just so unmanageable. So thankfully now you have the digital option that the Rock and R and Gamers Outreach both know is the way forward. And I'll also buy in our own Xboxes that maybe sit on a unit that each individual ward has. I kind of meet with the staff on the wards and try and suss out what's the best solution here. The other thing is with controllers and peripherals, there's a lot of hospitals, and it's entirely not their fault. It's because, healthcare staff are so busy and have far more important things to do than this. But the controller will run out of charge, and that means it's broken, right? It's maybe just, it's staff that they don't game at home. They don't really understand why is the controller not working, or it must be broken. Let's put a A4 sheet of paper that just says broken on it, and it sits in a corner. By having myself and by having our volunteers that can be, it's a big old hostel, they can
of course,
my eyes when something's broken, or they'll come down and ask I need a spare controller here. They can just get things moving and make sure things are still working as they should be. Sometimes there are a few genuine times where they're broken.
They are broken,
but it's an experience that maybe it just takes someone that is into gaming, and it doesn't have to be a full-time gamer. It can be a volunteer to just go in and just say, yeah, right, I think that needs charged. Let me take that downstairs, or let me give that a wipe and put that on the charging dock. Here's a fresh one, that's straight out the box that the child can use now. That one will be good in a bit. see you later.
Cool.
It's fixed within 5 minutes. Unless, on the other hand, it might sit in a corner because it's up to a nurse or, a play specialist that, has never gamed at home in their life before. And it's not their fault at all. It's just, play has this new digital element.
Of course.
That's just about managing that.
Yeah, I think that's key to it. You hit the nail on the head with that last line. Play has a digital element to it now, and that it's good to see that people are. I think that in our time, like when I was younger, people used to like shy away from that and be like, "Oh no, like consoles and video games and stuff." But we're seeing people embrace this a lot more, and it's having such a genuine impact in loads of different facets of life and in your job and things as well. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And I think that does tie me into my next question. Actually, I was going to ask, in that I think you mentioned it earlier, talking about like anxiety and sort of different things like that. But in your experience, what kind of thing, what difference does it make having games in a hospital? What kind of difference does it actually have for the children that are playing them?
Yeah, well, first of all, we collect feedback from our families and our parents in the hostel as much as we can. I personally, I encourage the volunteers to do this also. Give out a little sort of postcard. The links through to a little survey that they can do, and they can leave some comments about their visit. Obviously, because this was a long term sort of pilot that we were doing for over a year, to suss out, is this something we want to commit to as a core sort of service. And the comments that I get from the parents, and what it meant to them and to their child, I think it really speak volumes. I get quite often, oh, that's the most exciting I've seen them all day or all week. It's the first time I've seen them smile since they were admitted to hospital, took their mind off their traumatic accident. All these are all things I hear quite often, and that's not blowing my own trumpet. These are things that are mostly said of the volunteers, because there's 5 of them and they cover more ground than I can in total. So that speaks volumes for itself. But one thing that I notice all the time as well, Scott, is the little scooch back of the chair 5 minutes into the gaming session, because it's the first time that mum or dad has had all day, and it's 2-3 p.m. at this point, to maybe call home. There might be a sibling who's just got out of school and they're wondering how's their wee brother or wee sister doing. It might be granny, granda, aunts, uncles needing a wee update. It could be that there's that important life admin that they need to do, and they just felt guilty being on the phone in front of their child. It might be that the school run needs done for another sibling, or they just want to go get a cup of coffee or get some lunch, and they didn't feel like doing that earlier on. I see that happen countless of times. So do our volunteers, and that was I didn't really realise how important that would be.
Of course.
And how often that would happen before I started this job. But it's really like clockwork. I can see it coming a mile off, and I'm already prepared. Like, yeah, of course you can go grab some lunch downstairs or what have you. So yeah, there's huge benefits, I think, for the patients, for the families, and also for the NHS staff who do such an amazing job. If they know that child is entertained and happy for the time being, then I've never done any kind of research or surveys, but you would surmise that would help maybe with complying to take their medication, or making sure they do this thing or that thing. I've done 1 or 2 gaming sessions where there's been a goal of physio to get the child to look a certain way. So I've set up the Nintendo Switch over the side, and it's been right. You got to look over in this direction when we play Mario Kart, that kind of thing. I also try and take as much chance as possible, if I get asked any questions about things like microtransactions, screen time, toxic versus positive gaming behaviours, all that kind of thing, I always try and use that as an opportunity for some education, and that's for the child, but also for parents as well.
It's almost like you're reading from the sheet that I'm reading from here, Stephen, because you hit screen time and you hit this, and you know, what's your opinion on that? As parents, we talk about how we limit screen time and on the podcast quite a lot, and we have a sort of opinion where we try and embrace it as much as possible. Do you know what I mean? Like, my daughter loves the Nintendo Switch and will play Super Mario Wonder for hours on end if I left her to it. But it's like, there's that push and pull in terms of, you know, how do we reward that and what do we take it away? But how has your experience changed? How you see that kind of debate, and what are you saying to these parents in terms of, you know, screen time and how they should approach that?
Yeah, so I think first of all, I think we all, you know, the three of us could probably admit that even as adults, our screen time, you know, could probably be doing with getting looked at. I think
Yes.
like it's got to be in the 90% of adults that own a smartphone, would probably say the same. For me, if a parent has their own opinion on their child's screen time, I am nobody to question that or to impose. You know, but how about a gaming session here? You know, it's up to them. You know, I have plenty of times where I think there might be a family or a patient up in a certain ward. I think they might be a good idea, and to engage with this service, but they're actually recovering from a concussion, or they might have epilepsy. And it's like, right, okay, well, that's off the table then. We'll find something else for them that doesn't involve a screen. So I think kind of being used to that means that I'm very used to being told no, and I'm very used to handing the reins and those opinions over to the families and the people more directly responsible for that child's care. I do think having a gamer or having a gaming team, gaming volunteers in your hospital is better because it's structured, it's sort of time bound. You know, I go in, I set an expectation with our families that I'll be in for maybe half an hour, maybe 45 minutes. If there's a child that's really in distress and could do with a slightly longer interaction, I'll, you know, allow for that, and I'll make that clear at the start of the session. But that compared to you know, just having the consoles and just saying, right, have at it, I think is more structured, and it helps to encourage healthy discussions and healthy boundaries around screen time. The amount of times I go in and I say, right, it's going to be, you know, one more race on Mario Kart, then I'm going to have to be off to visit another child. And you know, I obviously wipe down all the equipment and stuff after a few, so I'm wiping the Nintendo Switch, and I leave the room, and then suddenly they're playing with Lego, they're playing with something that's offline, that's unplugged, off screen, and I think that's kind of another added benefit to the way that we're doing things, the way that we have it as a structured a structured gaming session, as opposed to just providing the stuff and then leaving them to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you mentioned session a few times. I'm glad you've said how that works in terms of the expectations that you set, because I was going to ask just because I'm really nosy. But that's cool to hear that that's the case as well. And you know, with gaming and things at the moment, you know, there's a lot of, I'd say at the moment, over our whole lives, probably as gamers and things, there's been a stigma attached to video games. Do you think that still carries that sort of stigma when it comes to kids, or are the parents kind of like, you know, on you go ahead, or do you think that that's something that's mixed? What do you think yourself?
Yeah, no, I mean, I remember when I had my PS2 and games like I think Manhunt, like that. I remember that as like the first kind of moral panic around gaming of my lifetime.
Yeah.
And that's still going on. I think now, you know, in the mid 2020s, gaming kind of gets conflated with social media quite a lot, and especially conflated with TikTok and Instagram Reels, and it kind of gets wrapped up in this sort of all-in-one screens are bad sort of thing, which I agree they can be if used improperly, if used for far too long, and if used in a nefarious way like social media can be, and certain aspects of online gaming can be. I don't believe that means that all gaming is intrinsically bad at all. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing this job.
Doing this job, of course.
I think there's a huge difference between leaving a child unattended on an online game that encourages interaction with strangers versus a structured session in an environment like a split screen game of Mario Kart or building something together on Minecraft offline. I think those are two wildly different experiences.
Absolutely.
And we obviously encourage the latter.
Yeah, definitely. A little bit about you then, Stephen. So, 3 questions here that are quite deep, quite could be quite deep anyway. But what would you say has been the hardest part of your job so far?
The hardest part for me, I would say, is sometimes I'm asked, "Do you let them win?" And trying to explain that, and it's kind of hard to actually put into words. Because for me, we try and make sure that the child is winning, whether they are winning, if that makes sense. We feel that if we went in, we had a positive interaction, then they have won. Whether they're number one on the game. We kind of default to trying to do like a kind of cooperative way of playing wherever we can find that. Unless it's maybe an older child, we treat up to 16, maybe sometimes 17, 18 years. There's quite a lot of 16-year-olds that see me as a scalp to play. And in those cases, it's a different type of interaction. But when I'm in, gaming with a 7-year-old, it's trying to adapt to that and working with that child and working out what's the best way to take this session was quite a learning curve, I think. Equally, children ask a lot of questions and sometimes being asked things like, why do you have to go? Where are you going? It's hard enough explaining that to any child, but to a child that is in hospital for the foreseeable future can be a difficult question to answer. But we always have to sort of treat it with honesty, and I never pretend to be a child's best friend. I always make clear what the expectations are, and that this is my job and what a great job it is. And
of course,
there's always a joke that mum or dad hit out with that's like, oh, I told you wouldn't get anywhere in your jobs or school playing video games, but look at this guy. He's showing me up, kind of thing. And we always turn it into a bit of a laugh, but it's good because that establishes the actual real world boundaries that at the end of this I do go home and I have a life. I don't live in this hospital.
Yeah.
Which for some children, you guys might know yourself, is hard to sometimes get. It's like when they think the teacher lives at hospital and they see them at Asda and they're like bowled over, kind of the same thing with me. So I try and establish that, but that was very tough to start off. But now I guess I'm quite used to it now, but that was quite tough.
I guess over time you do become not hardened to it, but you know how to sort of deal with that kind of thing. Which, I think that any answer you give there would be hard regardless. But what would you say is the most rewarding part of the job that you do?
The most rewarding is when I hear from families what a difference it's making, and if I hear that also from any of our friends in the NHS, that this is making a difference to their children. Because I feel like, and if I could be really candid here, there's always still going to be a part of me that's like, how are you playing games for a living? How is this your job? I think it's quite natural. I think that's a natural thing, even of my colleagues over in the States. They've been doing this for almost 10 years. But then I'll have a comment from a parent that says like that this is really helping. This is really keeping my child's spirits up at such a difficult time. Then that's really rewarding because, you know, as you guys know, it's them that knows their child inside out.
That's the one thing you want to see as a parent is you know, your child happy and, you know, maybe taking their mind away from it. So it must be that I think a lot of jobs don't go kind of, you don't get gratification from some of the work that you do. I know certainly personally I don't, but having that feedback from a parent must, you know, hit you right in the feels. Do you know what I mean? Like it must be one of those things where it's 100%. This one is a question about how has this role changed how you personally see gaming as a hobby, or, you know, something that you do?
I would say I'm certainly gaming a bit less at home. I'll be honest on that. I think that's probably to be expected. And sometimes I'll, you know, I do play a lot of Mario Kart in the hospital, and I could go on for about 10 minutes on all the different use cases and all the reasons Mario Kart is great if you guys let me, but you might not want to. And but sometimes I'll like start gaming, you know, in my living room here, and I'll be like, right, where's my shells gone? And I'm like, oh, I'm playing Rocket League here. Doesn't work. So yeah, it's totally changed how I see video games, and it's maybe allowed me to appreciate it more in a different sense. I play a lot more single player games now. Previously, you know, I'd play a lot of FIFA, a lot of online multiplayer sort of games, whereas now I kind of get stuck into the kind of single player games that I used to play a bit more in my youth, because I play so much multiplayer stuff with the children. So yeah, that's been maybe another change that I've kind of starting to appreciate.
Yeah, 100%. And this one wasn't on the list, Stephen, but I do need to ask you. You're mentioning single player games. You want to hit us with a few. What kind of games are you playing?
I love Balatro at the moment. I got onto it really, really late, to be honest. But I've managed to get to the 8th ante. I'm hoping to hit double figures at some point. I still am not entirely sure if I know what I'm doing or not, but
I don't think you ever do with Balatro. I think you just make it up as you go along.
But obviously, that's like the total like opposite of a game we would play in the hospital for a myriad of reasons. You know, it's not multiplayer. Secondly, you know, it's literally playing poker with funky cards for next. So yeah, that's one for at home, but that's what I kind of get into now. Me and my girlfriend just finished Split Fiction as well, which is absolutely incredibly special. Amazing game. We did It Takes Two and then just rattled straight through into the next one, you know.
Yeah.
And then we're searching for another kind of couch co-op.
The next co-op game.
Yeah.
It's me and Liam played Split Fiction and never finished it. That's one of the sins of last year where we never made our way through it. But we talk a lot about It Takes Two and the moment with the elephant, and it's that still horrifies the both of us to this day. It's a hard watch. That this is the last question for you, Stephen. You'll be happy to hear. So I think you did touch on it a little bit, but it's always nice to remind folk. But if someone listening does want to help Games for the Weans, what should they do next?
So you can pretty much, I think our SEO is still quite strong. You can kind of just Google Games for the Weans, Weans spelled Weans. You can, just look up Glasgow Children's Hospital Charity on the socials. We kind of put out content about our gaming service when we have some new updates to share. And you can see some of the great stuff that we've managed to fund over the last little while, thanks to Child's Play and our main core sponsors, Devolver Digital, as well. So shout out to them. And yeah, just engaging with the charity in general on socials and checking out the charity's website and see all the amazing other stuff that we're doing. Like I said, I cannot cover 25 years of support in such a short space of time, but really my colleagues do some amazing work outside of the gaming sphere. So yeah, please do check all of that out. We have like a craft challenge going for Easter right now if you're into crafting. We have all the kind of active events coming up, like the Kilt Walk, like our Edinburgh Marathon and the Great Scottish Run and all that kind of stuff happening all through the year. And then we have some events at Christmas and fundraising over Christmas as well. So we have stuff going on all year
all
round.
the time. Yeah,
Just look up glasgowchildren'shostelcharity.org or catch us on social media as well.
Amazing. Thank you very much for that, Stephen. That's the interrogation over. You'll be happy to hear.
No, not at all.
It has been a pleasure having you join us. I say us, but Liam has been a nobody in this conversation. But for folks listening to, obviously, you, please go and check out all the amazing work done by the charity. As you just said yourself, all the socials, everything, the websites. Go and do it, please, because, it's an amazing work that you are doing. But for now, it is back to me and Liam on the show. Magic.
See you later.
See you later.
And we are back. Scott, that was fantastic, wasn't it? The power of technology. We're here. We're whisked away and we're back again.
And we're dressed the same way as we were previously.
Indeed. Big massive thanks to Stephen for coming on the show. But of course, it's time for us to move on to the last segment of the show here, which means that it is time for the Pixel Picks Showdown, where each week we each pick a game from our chosen theme and decide which one deserves to live on in the hallowed Pixel Picks list, which is our definitive list of the best games we recommend and pass on to the next generation of gamers. Last week's theme was, of course, the best game of the last 100 episodes, with Alan Wake 2 becoming the latest addition to the list. Go play that, by the way, Scott recommends. And in this week's showdown, we are debating the best game of the Phil Spencer era we think should feature on the Pixel Picks list. Now, as always, last week's winner goes last, even though I feel like it should be you, Scott. That doesn't feel right, but I'm going to take it because, as you mentioned last week, I like to go for the low-hanging fruit. So let's get to it. This one, I was chuckling to myself when I was putting this in the docket because I'm like, Scott's going to absolutely hate so more low-hanging fruit. But Scott, take it away, sir. Take it away.
Where do you fucking start, Liam? Where do you start? After saying all that about his legacy, and I don't really know what to say, but I'm going to go for not low-hanging fruit because I don't think it's fair. I think that I'm going to stick with what I know and what I believe. And what I believe, Liam, is, thank God I was going to say that there, and I've just realised that it's not on the list. I'm trying to waffle because I'm trying to see what's on the fucking list. Like, oh my God, hurry up. No, so games that I'm picking for this week, honourable mention goes to a game that I mentioned earlier on, Liam. Didn't release, and it's an absolute crying shame, and that was Scalebound. Dragons, headphones.
Jesus.
Could have been Devil May Cry with fucking massive dragons, Liam. And he stole it from us. Platinum Games. Do you know what I mean? Like, we could have had it all. And they stole it from us, and I'm still furious about it. So that's my honourable mention for this week. The game that I'm picking for my pick for this week is a game that I haven't played. I'm going to put it out there straight away.
Okay.
I lie. I've played it for the grand total of about 6 minutes. 6-7 minutes, maybe. Hey.
My hand's getting ready.
Oh, he's doing it. But no, it's a game that I think that a lot of people do enjoy, and it has grown arms and legs over the years. It's a game that came out in 2021 and continues to wow people on Xbox, and maybe also on PlayStation, maybe also soon come to PlayStation. I can't remember.
Good chance.
But this is a game where you can go to your own house, Liam. You can go to Celtic Park. and that game is Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Oh yes, of course, yes. A lot of people did enjoy that. I did pick it up, play it, flew into my house at the time and turned it off, and into the local Asda.
Aye, it's like a horror when you go to your own house because it's all just like weird versions of the world. It's like they should make a game like that. It's fucking class.
Yeah.
But I just think the variety and the way that game handles the loyal fan base that it cultivates, the crossovers with things like Top Gun. I'm pretty sure they did a crossover with something else as well, but I can't remember what it was. But it's just a game that continues to grow and to change. And as I say, I can't remember if it's out on PlayStation already or if it was coming this year, but it's
I think it's this year.
It's one that it's just I still think I'm not going to pick Forza because I don't fucking care. I'm not going to pick a Gears of War or a Halo because they were all pish. I was going to go with Ori and the Blind Forest because I played that for a wee bit, but this was not the time for me as an Xbox gamer. Do you know what I mean? Xbox doesn't become necessary or viable to me until Game Pass. If Game Pass was a game, that's what I would have chosen. But for the meme, Scalebound is the honourable mention, but Microsoft Flight Simulator is the pick for me this week. And there you go.
Okay, so it's a solid pick, sir. Solid pick. I have obviously, them fruit be hanging low, Scott. They'd be hanging low. But I did have a think about Flight Simulator, and I know we've got a Forza on that list somewhere. I'm desperately scrolling it to try and see. However, as I'm doing that, I'll hit you with my honourable mention. This week it was an easy one. I think it's one that I want to give some love to. Because I feel like it doesn't get much, but it's a good-ass game, and that's Gears 5. I do think that Gears 5, not Gears of War, but Gears 5 was a lot of fun. It was a hell of a lot more fun than Gears of War 4, and I think it's a game that a lot of people would slept on, just probably because of franchise fatigue, and Xbox in a very different place at that point. But if you've never played that and you do, maybe you've dabbled in an Xbox Game Pass subscription, or maybe I think it might even be on the lower tier ones. I'm not too sure. It's definitely worth checking out, and it's a fantastic time, really is. And I think that's definitely been a highlight that often gets overlooked for some of the more obvious choices in there. However, my pick this week, Scott, is going to go to a game that I really do adore, and it's one that I think is a proper crown jewel in the Phil Spencer era, both creatively, but also gameplay-wise, it's definitely one that stands out to me that was a hell of a lot of fun. And that is Psychonauts 2. I'm going to give my nod to that one this week. Tim Schafer and the crew over at Double Fine, they managed to craft an absolutely stunning game here, and one that I was totally not expecting to enjoy as much, but I walked away from it just like, wow, the more, it's a classic case of the more and more you play it, the more you fell in love, and it was just such an exceptional adventure. That cast of characters was so good, and yeah, I think I definitely have to give a tip of the cap and give it to Psychonauts 2 this week, Scott. But yeah, do you have any rebuttal to that, or are we going to have to fight this out and we're going to crown it to Psychonauts 2?
There's a video online of the World Cup where Slavan Bilic is sitting on a couch with Roy Keane and some other person, and they're talking to him about red cards and asking him about his opinion on it and what he thinks about it does for the game and blah blah blah. And his answer is so succinct and so perfect that I can only say it now, Liam. And what he says is, to be honest with you, I don't care. If you want to put Psychonauts 2 on it, go on right ahead. Do you know what I mean? The main character is called Rasputin. You know what I mean? So how could I argue against it?
Well, in that case, if you're offering, I'm definitely taking it there. So congratulations to Psychonauts 2. You are the winner of this week's Pixel Picks Showdown. And interesting fact, Scott, that this is the 5th number 2 sequel in a row on that Pixel Picks Showdown. The last 5 weeks has gone to a sequel. So let's see what happens as next week it goes into the 94th entry. So we don't have many to go in our run to 100 with that as well. And I look forward to kind of revealing more about phase 2 of that. But yeah, congratulations, Psychonauts 2. You're the next entrant on that list. But of course, that does bring us to an end to this week's podcast, Scott. So thank you once again for joining us. And remember to support small independent games media out there. So if you like what you hear and enjoy the podcast, please share on social media and tell your friends about us, or leave us a wee 5-star review. It all helps us out and makes a massive difference. And please remember to go join our free Patreon community at patreon.com/Pixel Parents to support the show. Now, test time. Scott, where can people find you online if they wish to chat to you about your love of Phil Spencer?
Fucking hell. Please don't. But I am available on Blue Sky at lamaman.bsky.social. I also just want to state for the record that there has been a delay in this conversation, so I do hope that it all comes through okay.
It's not as bad as you think. It's not as bad as you think. But yeah, please go check him out on Blue Sky, guys. And for myself, if you want to come shoot the breeze with me, you can get me there at carmelite.bsky.social. But a massive thank you as well to our producer and music man, the talented and handsome Mr. Sean Murray. So please go show him some love and check out his work on Instagram at barehandsdesigns and barehandsdesigns.com. And you can listen to the next episode on all major podcast platforms and follow us at Blue Sky at pixelparents.bsky.social. And of course, write to us at pixelparentspodcast@gmail.com. But wherever you are, like, share, subscribe, and please play some damn games. But until next time, stay safe, stay sane, and thanks for listening.
Scalebound was wronged.